Yes, well, what I can say is Simon Schuster is the publisher of my dreams. Every single person on that team works so hard. They're so dedicated. They're so kind. They have planned so much for me. Woman on the Edge appeared in Toronto Star of 5 domestic thrillers you won't be able to put down. It has been already in Toronto Life, Chatelaine, and Canadian Living. I will be on both the CTV and Global morning television shows next week.
Welcome to the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. There has never been a better time for writers. More information, options, and opportunities are available to you, but navigating these requires insight. Join Mark Leslie Lefebvre as he draws upon more than a quarter century of experience as a writer, a bookseller, and a trusted book industry consultant to explore and reflect on the writing and publishing landscape to help you make informed choices on your writer journey.
Hello, Reflectives, and welcome to episode 107 of the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. This is your host, Mark Leslie Lefebvre. In this episode, I have an interview with Samantha M. Bailey, and we're talking about her hot new thriller, Woman on the Edge. Let me just give you the premise for this. A total stranger on the subway platform says, "Take my baby." She places her child in your arms, she says your name, then she jumps. This is a new novel called Woman on the Edge from Samantha M. Bailey. In a split second, Morgan Kincaid's life changes forever. Samantha M. Bailey is a Toronto-based novelist, journalist, and freelance editor. Her work has appeared in various magazines, presses, and publications. She was a writer-in-residence for Kobo Writing Life at Book Expo America in 2013, and she's the co-founder of BookBuzz, a promotional and interactive author-reader event held in New York and Toronto. Woman on the Edge is her debut thriller novel, and I'm so excited to have her on the show because this is the week that the book is being released in Canada. I'm recording this on Wednesday, November 27th, and Samantha's book launch in Canada was November 26th, which was yesterday, and you'll obviously be getting this episode either in the RSS feed on the 28th, late on November 28th, depending on what time zone you're in, or potentially early on the 29th if you're in the UK or those parts of the world. And of course, the show notes will appear at starkreflections.ca on the morning of Friday, November 29th. Before I jump into a short personal update, I'm just going to do a brief word from this episode's sponsor, Findaway Voices. This episode is sponsored by Findaway Voices. Findaway Voices is a way for independent authors and small publishers to get their works distributed to the broadest network of retailers and libraries out there. As of the recording now, Findaway Voices can get your audiobook into 43 different retailer and library channels. If you're looking to have a professionally produced audiobook done, you can also do that through Findaway Voices. There are various options. You can work with them to find a professional narrator from their network of professional narrators around the world, finding just the right voice for your book. And it is an opportunity where you can pay outright and own the rights to the audio by paying the narrator outright through Findaway Voices. Or you can take advantage of one of the programs, which is Voices Share, which allows you to pay a reduced rate for the narrator and then do a combination of royalty splitting. Lots of choice, lots of options, and lots of control for Findaway. I should note that as of November 1st, 2019, your audiobook royalty rate for Nook audiobooks increased from 45% to 50%. Similarly, they announced a similar increase in royalties to Apple Books. So if you're looking to expand your audiobook horizon to find new readers around the world, you really should check out Findaway Voices. And you can find out more about Findaway Voices over at starkreflections.ca/Findaway. I am going to keep it brief for my personal update in this episode. I am preparing on Wednesday, November 27th, to head up to Sudbury, Ontario. I'm going to be spending the evening with my mom, having dinner with her tonight, hanging out with her, doing some stuff with her tomorrow. And then tomorrow, Thursday, which would be Thursday, November 28th, which will be in the past when you listen to this, of course, I will be doing a talk on digital publishing, talking about the benefits of how authors can use all the free tools from a company like Draft to Digital and the Sudbury Writers Guild. It's been a while since I've had a chance to talk to the guild there, so I'm looking forward to going up there and hanging out with some of my writer friends up in that area. So that means I'm going to be recording this really quickly, getting it ready to go before I get on the highway. Other things that have been going on is Nanowrimo is coming to a close. How are you doing if you're participating in Nanowrimo? I cracked 50,000 words several days ago. I can't even remember the day it was. It might have been Sunday that I did it. I think it was Sunday morning that I actually cracked 50,000 words. I'm at 57,000 words or something like that, and I'm continuing to go. Unlike previous years where I worked on a specific novel, this year I was working on multiple book projects that I have in the queue. And one of those books, which is nearing the final stages of getting it ready for publication for December 10th, 2019, is my book in the Stark Publishing Solutions series. And it is an author's guide to working with libraries and bookstores. Had some great feedback from early editors, as well as a friend who took a look at one of the early chapters to help me update and revise that. So continuing to finalize the work on that so it can be released December 10th. But I'm still plugging away since November is still happening. I'm still endeavoring to do this 1,666 words a day on the various writing projects that I have in the queue, because as writers, we often have multiple projects in the queue. And I love the fact that this daily writing habit that I got into, which is what NaNoWriMo is all about, is something I've been able to keep throughout the month. There were a couple days when I was in Vegas at a conference that I did not get a chance to do any words. So there were 2 days where I think I wrote maybe 100 words in those 2 days, but I managed to stay on track for most of the rest of the month. And that's what I'm looking at when I look at something like NaNoWriMo is, what did I do? Even if you don't hit 50,000 words, what did you do to get more words out there, to actually make progress on a project that you knew you wanted to work on? And so that kind of inspires me to know that I've actually been able to do that. Of course, putting up a book for pre-order without any assets, which I did through Draft to Digital, it's kind of a little bit of a nervous thing because I kind of have a deadline and I better have it all done. I kind of need that deadline. Maybe that's something that you need, or maybe you need something else. In any case, if you are still doing NaNoWriMo, there'll probably just be, 1 day left probably, since the official release for this podcast is November 29th, 2019. So that gives you another maybe 24, 48 hours to get more done. Even if you didn't start, it's never too late to start. So that's it for a personal update and my initial blathering at the beginning of the podcast. I am so excited to share with you this fantastic interview with Samantha M. Bailey about her new book, Woman on the Edge. Hey, Samantha, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here, Mark.
I'm dying to talk about this amazing thriller that I'm almost finished reading, Woman on the Edge. But before we get into that, I want to go back to your beginning as a writer, as an editor, and how you got into this industry and wanting to be a writer in the first place.
So we have to go back 36 years.
36 years.
To when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
Which is when I submitted my first story to a publisher.
When you were 10 years old?
I was 10 years old, and I submitted it to Kids Can Press here in Toronto.
Okay.
And it was rejected. My first of many rejections. And it was a really good lesson because I learned from such a young age, this business is hard. You need a tough skin, and you can't give up.
Okay, that was a great lessons to have when you were 10.
Yes,
so did you keep submitting? How did it work? What was the process like as you got older?
So as I got older, I kept writing stories, but and always loved writing. And I actually always loved thrillers, mysteries, and really dark tales. And I would write these really dark tales. And then when I was 29, I finished reading Good in Bed by Jennifer Weiner.
Okay.
And I thought, I want to do this. I loved, and I still love all of her books, her writing, her wit, how she is able to create a character that everybody roots for. And I wanted that, and I wanted to do that. And at the same time, I was doing my Master's of Education at OISE here in Toronto, and I was taking a course on imagination. And one of our assignments was to create a character. And so I created a character, and I really realized that this is something I had to. I had to try to write a novel.
Right.
And so I did. So it took me a year. And at that point, I was writing romantic comedy.
Okay.
I'd say it was edgy and gritty romantic comedy, but it was romantic comedy because most of the books I was reading then were, chick lit,
Okay.
this genre that I fell in love with, and these authors that, so many of them have actually become my friends since then. And I'm still starstruck by them. Writers like, Brenda Janowitz, Lynn Messina, Ariella Papa, these incredible authors. So I wrote a chick lit novel over the course of a year, and I found an agent for it.
Okay.
And so he signed me, and he tried to sell my first novel.
Okay.
And that didn't work out. So I wrote another one, and he tried to sell that one, and that didn't work out. So we parted ways amicably. I appreciated all of his help. And then I kept writing. So I wrote another one. And through all of this, I had actually also been querying my current agent. My current agent, I think, has gotten 4 or 5 different queries for me on 4 or 5 different books over the course of 10 years. Yeah, I wanted to work with her really bad. So after I wrote another, I looked back at the 2 novels that my former agent had submitted, and I thought, I'm going to self-publish one of these.
Okay.
At that time, self-publishing had grown. It had developed into something amazing and something possible. So I self-published that, which is how we met through Co-Writing Life, which was such a huge, huge support to me. And self-publishing that was one of the most incredible experiences of my life because I met amazing people, authors, readers, bloggers who support me to this day and have supported me over, the years it took me to write Woman on the Edge. And so I'm really proud that I did that. So I self-published that, and then I kept writing because I always wanted a traditional publishing partner.
Right. And what I admire is that, I mean, your first agent, you wrote a book and submitted it and then just did another one and did another one. You didn't give up.
No, I never considered it. And I think it's because I'm really, really stubborn. And if there's something I want, I'm just going to keep going until I get it because the possibilities are endless.
Right.
And so I thought if I just keep going, even if I'm, going to my book launch with a walker, I'm going to keep doing this. And so I did. And then I wrote Woman on the Edge, and then my whole life changed.
Let's go back to when you wrote Woman on the Edge. What was the inspiration for this novel? Actually, maybe we should tell my listeners a little bit about it. I'm holding an advanced reader copy or an ARC in my hand that I got from your Canadian publisher, Simon and Schuster. And the tagline on the cover says, "She gave you her baby, and then she jumped." And there's a picture of a woman in a yellow sort of raincoat kind of jacket, standing on what looks like the edge of a subway platform as the subway's racing past her. Where did that come from?
So, first of all, I have to say that cover is designed by Caroline Young in the UK with my UK publisher, Headline.
Oh, okay. So that won't
And
be on the Canadian edition?
no, it will.
Okay.
Simon and Schuster Canada. We all loved that cover so much.
Hmm.
I think Caroline did such a phenomenal job that we couldn't have imagined anything else for the cover. So I'm thrilled that the cover will be in the UK and Canada and the US, the same cover. So where did the inspiration come from? So 6 years ago, it was a cold winter day, as you know, we have those cold winter days here
Yeah.
in probably September. And I was standing on a subway platform. I don't remember which one, but it was narrow. And I was standing on a subway platform, and I think probably like every writer, I watch and listen to everything happening around me. I'm fascinated by psychology. I'm fascinated by what people are really thinking. Everybody looks like they're just standing around reading or staring at the walls, but there's
Right.
so much going on in people's minds that we're unaware of. And there was a woman, and she was holding a baby, and she was close to the edge. And I was afraid for her first because I think those platforms are very narrow.
Yeah.
I stood very close to the wall already at that point. Now I hug the wall. But I looked at her, and she looked tired and worn out, as new moms do, as new parents do, as I did. And I thought, what is she thinking? What is her story? And then I was hit by a thunderbolt. And I thought, what if she asked me to take her baby? And that was it. I took an empty gum pack out of my purse and I scribbled the idea down. And by the time we boarded the train, including the mother who, was happily nestling her sleeping baby against her,
Yeah.
I had the premise.
Wow. So it was that spark of an idea, and you had no idea why she was doing it or any of the backstory. It was just a, wow, what if this happened?
Yes, my thoughts immediately got darker, not in connection to this particular woman that I saw,
Right.
but once I had written the first line, which is "take my baby," that came to me first. I then imagined, what if this woman in my story then jumped?
Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to the novel is set in Chicago.
Yes.
And was that a decision that your agent and editor helped with, or did you pick Chicago instead of Toronto, and like for any particular reason?
I picked Chicago myself um, instead of Toronto for a couple of reasons. And that's an interesting question because as of now, my second book is set in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
For my first book, I first wanted a separation from my own home.
Okay.
The darkness of this story, my first foray into writing a thriller, I had to go very dark and deep
Right.
and access things that are, quite emotional and difficult to access. Even if I haven't experienced them myself, my characters experience them. And so in turn, I do experience them.
Right.
And so I wanted somewhere separate from where I lived. So that was the first. I then wanted somewhere in the US. I'm actually a dual citizen.
Okay.
So my father was born in Queens, New York. And New York to me has always felt like a second home. But I feel like if an author is going to write about New York, they either have to live there
Mm.
to get the true feeling of what it's like to be a New Yorker,
Right.
or is so good with geography and setting that they can make the readers believe they are a New Yorker, or a transplant who really understands the geography. Geography is not my strong point.
Okay.
So I wanted a city that felt close enough to the cultural an architectural landscape of Toronto.
Okay.
I wanted a city that would make the book marketable worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
And Chicago, to me, I've been there, not for a long time, but I've been there. And something about Chicago, its essence, its spirit, reminds me of Toronto.
Okay. Yeah, cold, windy, waterfront.
I think all of
Bitter
that,
winter. Yeah. Okay.
yes. And the diversity as well.
Yes. Yeah. And some interesting history. And like you said, fascinating architecture in different spots of the city too. So,
Yes.
okay.
I decided to use Chicago.
Okay. Wow. That's fascinating. I'm curious as well about the structure of the novel. Now, I'm not
Yes.
quite finished the novel. It is a very fast-paced novel, and I'm not going to give away anything, except for the fact that you start off, you give a date, and obviously the first line is "Take my baby," so it kind of starts with some action,
Yeah.
and Morgan is handed, and we see it from Morgan's perspective. She's handed this baby from this strange woman, and then it all goes down. And it starts to spin out of control from that point. And then you immediately flash back to, and you use the date in the first chapter, but then you just say before Nicole, and you see Nicole, the woman on the edge, who before she descends into what led to her whatever happened on the platform, because I haven't finished, so I don't know. and and I love the fact that every single chapter goes back and forth between Nicole and Morgan. And I also love the fact that these two women who don't know each other, the way you bring them together and show how their lives sort of come together. And I mean, I just need to ask you about that structure. And is that how you imagined it, or did that come out later?
Okay, so first, thank you so much. It means so much to me that you enjoy those parts, that you take something from it. Writing the book itself took 6 years. So
6 years, really?
6 years.
Wow.
Yes. So all the positive feedback and all the love that I'm receiving for it just means the world to me. The world to me. So thank you. The structure of it, I had planned out from the beginning in terms of a present past structure.
Okay.
In terms of, I don't know if you want to get this technical, but Morgan was not in first person for a good 10 drafts or so.
Really? So she was third person as well?
She was third person as well.
Okay.
It was my agent and I who made the decision to change it to first person.
And in first person present tense too.
In
Like
first person
very,
present.
very, yeah, pulls you right in.
Yeah, and we felt that this was a change that we needed to show the immediacy of her scenes and the agency behind
Right.
her character arc. So we did change that. Nicole was always in third person past.
Yeah, because it is a flashback too. That also makes it a bit of a difference.
Yes, and to give a separation between the two of them. I always wanted it to be these two women who meet on this awful, horrible, tragic day. And as one gains strength, as she tries to find out what happened to this woman she met, the other loses strength in some ways, gains the love of a mother, and descends as she gets closer to finding Morgan. It's very hard not to spoil the book.
I know, that's why I'm so glad I didn't finish it, because I probably would have blurted it out already.
Yes, for me, because it's very hard, because when you write it, you know exactly what happened.
Exactly. That's why I purposely made sure to slow myself down, so I didn't have it finished reading before I chatted with you, but knew enough about it to talk to you, because I get the feeling I'm going to call you after I finish it and either yell at you or go, oh my God, that was awesome.
Well, I hope it's the the latter.
or both, because I mean the thing is you created an emotional reaction in the reader.
Yes.
That's a sign of a good writer, I think, that you got them. I was thinking as I was looking and I'm reading through it, that there's parallels between Morgan and Nicole, of isolation and of betrayal.
Yes.
Were those conscious things that you were building into that, or did you just discover that as you were learning more about the characters?
I discovered that as I was learning about the characters, I knew I wanted both a parallel and a juxtaposition.
Okay.
I wanted a feminist approach. I wanted it to be about women, about motherhood, about the lengths women will go to protect a child,
Right.
um, to very different women. But I definitely, as the story grew and as I got to know the characters more, I wanted to parallel, yes, their losses,
Hmm.
loneliness, um, feeling completely misunderstood. Um, I wanted to I wanted to show Nicole doing whatever she could to get well.
Right.
And then on the other side, you have Morgan, a social worker who's doing whatever she can to help others. And then I also wanted the juxtaposition of their financial situations.
Right.
Nicole was very wealthy and very powerful, and Morgan, is barely scraping by.
Yeah.
And having come from wealth because of her late husband, which was ill-begotten.
Yeah.
So all of that definitely changed and evolved as I drafted. But I knew early on I definitely wanted two women who I could show both opposed and coming together.
And I look forward to seeing how they continue to come together, because I'm less than 100 pages away from the end, but it is so fascinating. Now I want to go back to some of the logistics of publishing, because I'm always fascinated by that. And I've got the advanced reader's copy, and I'm looking at a dozen or so raving quotes from all kinds of amazing authors. Um, just an absolute blockbuster. And we talked about the cover, and we talked about the fact that the cover was the same in the UK and in Canada and in the US,
Yeah.
but that's not the norm. Normally, there are different covers in different markets, and so your agent sold separately to Simon and Schuster in Canada, and then who's your publisher in the UK, and who is? I think Simon and Schuster is a publisher in the US as well, correct?
Yeah, Simon and Schuster Canada is my publisher.
Okay.
Um, and so all North American books will be through Simon and Schuster Canada.
So Simon and Schuster Canada, and then they're distributing it in through S&S in the US. Then, okay,
Yes,
great.
yes, which makes me very proud to have this phenomenal Canadian publisher. I'll get to my phenomenal publishers in a minute, but my agent, Jenny Bent, is a fierce goddess. Um, Not only did she teach me how to write a thriller through 3.5 years that we did revisions on this book,
Wow.
yes, draft after draft after draft, she is so wise and insightful, and just we kept at it until we got it right.
Hmm.
So Jenny, my agent, sold it to Headline, Cherise Hobbs, in the UK. And she did that through Sarah Hornsley, who is my UK agent through the Bent Agency. And Headline is fantastic, fantastic. It came out in ebook there October 1st.
Okay.
And today I just found out it was one of the best books of the week in Heat magazine.
Really?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that was, that's so fantastic how the UK responds to it.
So sorry, it was a UK ebook release?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's been released in the UK and Australia already in ebook
Okay.
and audio.
Well, oh, really?
Yes.
I could be, well, I can't listen to it yet because the Canadian release, we're recording this prior to November 26, 2019. And so I can't yet listen to it, but good thing your publicist sent me an advanced reader's copy so I could get into it before it was available.
Yes. Oh, my
Yeah.
publicist, Jillian Levick, is a superstar.
Yeah, Jillian is awesome, and I appreciate that she was able to send me a copy in advance. But so the ebook and the audiobook are available in the US, UK, and Australia, and then the release. So why is there a Canadian release November? So just for the Christmas season this year,
Yes. Okay.
2019, and the US is coming out in March.
So then what happened? So my book sold in the UK.
Okay.
Then my agent sold it in 7 countries for translation in Europe.
Wait, 7 countries for translation?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. Yes. It's shocking. I'm still, honestly, I pinch myself every day because this is so bonkers, to be honest. So it's coming out in 7 different countries in Europe. And those dates are all kind of scattered throughout. And then there was another pub date for Canada, but there is some exciting promo planned that is connected to the holidays.
Oh, yeah, and you can tell me because this won't be going live until after the book is out, and everyone will already know.
I can't tell you anything.
I tried, but this won't be live till after your release date. So, do I have to go to Toronto and hang out, or is this going to be happening in Chicago?
The exciting promo?
Yeah.
Oh, that will not be. That will be a. I can't say anymore.
Okay. All right. I tried. I did my best, dear listener, to pull this out of Samantha.
Yes.
But maybe post interview, when I find out what it is, I may tack it onto the notes after our interview, if I have the information. So people are probably going, "What was it? What was it? What did they do?"
Yeah, that would be phenomenal.
All right, and you'll send that to me, please.
Yes. So because of the exciting promo, it was decided that a November 26th pub date in Canada would be the best choice. So that would be ebook, audio, and paperback.
Okay.
And then for the US, it was really kind of a quick decision. Right. So it was quite quick. And so we decided to leave the US paperback release for the spring, so March 3rd, 2020. But the ebook in the US is also coming out November 26th.
Oh, so it's kind of like just after Cyber Monday, I guess. You've got your ebook. Okay, to take advantage of digital buying. Okay.
Yes, it's hard to keep track of. I have to make sure I get my dates all right.
Darn, the angst of having so many publishers handling this in so many countries. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know, that's funny, but that is awesome, and congratulations. That's a really exciting release. Thank you.
It is mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling that this took me 17 years, so it's just crazy.
So, I guess a couple last questions. Where are you going to be doing? I know we can't talk about specific strategies and stuff like that, but I think you have other interviews lined up. Sort of some sort of media tour. What is your publisher lined up for you that you can talk about?
Yes. Well, what I can say is Schuster Canada is the publisher of my dreams. My dreams. Every single person on that team works so hard. They're so dedicated. They're so kind. I simply love going to the office and hanging out with them because they're so much fun. So they have planned so much for me. Today, the Woman on the Edge appeared in Sarah Murdoch's column in the Toronto Star.
Oh, awesome.
Of 5 domestic thrillers you won't be able to put down. Yes, among 4 other really amazing books. It has been already in Toronto Life, Chatelaine, and Canadian Living.
Wow.
I assume that I can say this. I will be on both the CTV and Global morning television shows next week.
Fantastic. I'll be looking for that.
And thank goodness this is not through my computer because otherwise I wouldn't get any video. And so many things that they have planned that I can't speak of yet.
Ah, I'm
But
so
I'm also
curious.
going to be, I will be doing, bookstore signings, libraries, as, time goes on.
Okay. So, needless to say, you're probably not doing NaNoWriMo because you got so much else on the plate this November. Is that true?
So don't be shocked, but I am doing my own version of NaNoWriMo,
Okay, what is that?
uh, because I do have deadlines on my second book.
Okay.
So my NaNoWriMo consists of a total sea change for me, which is waking up at about 5 a.m.
Okay.
and writing until my kids wake up, which is about 7:30.
Okay.
I don't count words because I find it stresses me out.
Hmm.
If I have word count goals, I am just happy if I sit and I've written whatever needs to come out of me that day. If that makes any sense, like I feel
Yeah.
like I know when it's time to stop writing.
Right.
Yeah, I know when, and it doesn't mean that what I've put on the paper is any good,
Oh
but
no, no, but you put the time in.
but I put the time in. So I think, yeah, it's more about the time than the word count for me. So I'm doing the NaNoWriMo of time. So yeah, so every morning I've been waking up and writing for a couple of hours before, my work day starts with the promo and everything else I need to do.
I just wrote down NaNoTimo.
Oh, that's good. We should trademark that.
Nah, it's for the world. Um, I guess just getting towards the end of the questions here is looking back now that all of this has happened with your amazing agents and publishers and publicists and all the people that you get to work with on this. What is the advice that you would go back and maybe tell that 10-year-old Samantha who already seemed to know not to give up, and that rejection was part of the process, but even that Samantha that I met in 2011, 2012, who I remember you going to Book Expo America, and I remember you wanting to meet with publishers. What sort of advice would you go back and give her?
Well, if I could go back to the Book Expo America, which you changed my life that day, I got to sign my self-published novel at the Kobo Writing Life table. It's in fact in my bio that I got to do that.
You were a featured author at Book Expo America.
Yes, that was like just so amazing for me. And advice I would give to myself is stop looking at every agent's chest to try to get their name because it's really wrong.
Especially in this Me Too movement.
Yeah,
Where,
exactly. It's even a VoucherCon actually. I was just there and you really
yeah.
end up staring at, people's bodies and it's not good. But what I would tell myself, I have two things I would tell myself: that it won't be fast and it won't be easy, but it will all be worth it.
Wonderfully inspiring words. Thank you. Samantha, where can people find out more about you online?
So they can find out about me through my website, samantham.bailey.com. They can find me on Twitter and Instagram at sbaileybooks and on my Facebook author page.
Excellent. I will make sure that there are links to those in the show notes at starkreflections.ca. Samantha, congratulations on the new book, and thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Thank you so much, Mark, for having me here. This means the world to me.
I am so excited to have done this interview with Samantha, and I just finished the book. So I hadn't finished it before I interviewed her, but I have finished the book just a couple days ago, just prior to the book's release, because I got an advanced reader's copy from the publicist at Simon & Schuster Canada. So thank you so much, Simon & Schuster, for the opportunity to get to read this book and have it read by the time it comes out. I have talked to so many people about it, willing to share how much I love this. I'm so excited for Samantha. I've known her for a long time, and I've always known her to be a hardworking author. And that kind of leads me back to thinking about something from Samantha's writer journey to getting to where she is today, and what it took her to get there. And it kind of goes back to, last year I released a book called The 7 Ps of Publishing Success, and it actually harkens back to something I kind of made up a few minutes before I jumped on stage many, many years ago. And I said the 3 Ps of publishing success are patience, practice, and persistence, because it rolled off the tongue so eloquently. And that is exactly what Samantha shows here, are those 3 core fundamentals. She continued to work at writing books. I mean, she goes back to when she was 10 years old and got her first rejection. She persisted in the face of rejection. She persisted when her agent wasn't able to sell the book. She wrote another book, and she kept at it, and she kept working, and she kept persisting, and she was patient throughout the whole process. I remember seeing her at Book Expo America years ago and getting flustered with an interaction she had with a supposed publisher. It wasn't actually a publisher, but she initially thought it was. And despite, the rejection over the years, despite trying again and picking herself up, she persisted. She kept going. She was patient. She kept working at her craft. She worked with her agent. She worked with her editors. She collaborated. See, and now I'm getting into partnership and all those other Ps from the 7 Ps of publishing success. But rather than repeat myself about that here, I just want to remind you, on your writer journey, if you have faced rejection, or you're trying to get an agent, trying to get a publisher, or if the book is out there and you're seeing 1-star reviews or whatever, to remember that this is not a short-term thing. This is a long-term thing. It is a career-minded thing. And Samantha has had that attitude and that aptitude. I love, and in fact, speaking of attitude, how gracious and thankful she is for all the amazing people that she gets to work with. Working with Headline and Simon & Schuster and her editors and publicists and all those people. And I'm even seeing in social media just how thankful she is for the people who show up at her book events, for the people that are interviewing her. Amazing attitude, which I guess speaks to professionalism. See, I just can't help talking about all those alliterative Ps of publishing success. But again, a reminder of that patience, of that practice, and that persistence. Kudos to Samantha, and kudos to you. Kudos to you for listening to a podcast like this, which is about the business of writing and publishing. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you did enjoy this podcast, please feel free to share it with a friend so that they can maybe learn something, some amazing things from Samantha, maybe even occasionally something from one of my post-interview reflections. Again, I want to say thank you to the patrons of this show who support this podcast over on patreon.com/starkreflections. Those patrons get access to additional audio content and reflections and additional content that is not made available, although this podcast will always be free for you, the listener. So thanks for coming back. Thanks for listening to episode 107. This is Mark Leslie Lefebvre. Until next week and next episode, here is wishing you great writing and good Stark Reflections.
Thank you for listening to the Stark Reflections podcast. You can find show notes for each episode at starkreflections.ca.
The music for this podcast, Laser Groove, was composed and produced by Kevin MacLeod. Check out more of Kevin's great music at incomptech.com.